What is happening, everybody? John Hendricks here, coming at you again for Saints News Network to talk about Saints training camp, day 2, Thursday. Super hot. Before we get in there, we definitely want to give some love to Justin Burgess over at Ben Pro for sponsoring today's show. If you own a business in the greater New Orleans area, contact Justin Burgess for all of your health insurance and employee benefits needs. You can reach him at 504-888-8038. Again, Justin Burgess for all your health insurance and employee benefits needs. And thank you again to Ben Pro and him for sponsoring today's show. So, Saints training camp Thursday. A lot of fun things went down. Obviously, we built upon yesterday a good bit. Definitely noticeably hotter today. Saints had to deal with a good bit of some of the players, some of that heat, feeling the heat and having to exit practice a little bit earlier due to some heat exhaustion, some illness. Let's start with kind of who was there, who wasn't there. Of who wasn't there, obviously going back off 100% attendance on the first day. Today, Trevor Penning not in attendance. Obviously, that is a pretty big concern. Dennis Allen saying after practice, though, it is considered to be minor and he is day-to-day. It is a foot injury. That is concerning in itself. It is not on the same foot that he had the Lisfranc surgery on. So this is a thing that's flared up. And Allen also said that this is more of a precautionary measure, that they're holding him out of practice a little bit here. But, again, big visions for Trevor Penning to potentially start at left tackle for you. And he comes out, he's there during mini camps, some OTAs and stuff, doing some things. And this is not, I wouldn't say a setback, but this is just not a good way to start training camp. But, again, we'll see what happens when he comes out and when he plays. That's why you have somebody like James Hurst on the roster. He was out there part of the starting group at left tackle today. As far as other players, Colin Saunders would be the first one who kind of exited practice a little bit earlier. He was dealing with an illness. He was working, doing some positioning drills, and then he went into the cold tank, just like, I forget, it's like 25 degrees or less or something like that. It went in there. It looks like he still wasn't feeling right, exited the field with a trainer. Dennis Allen calling it an illness, so maybe we'll see him back tomorrow, but we'll see how that kind of plays out. Keith Kirkwood, Shaq Davis, both of those players left early for practice due to heat exhaustion. These things happen. I mean, this heat is no joke, guys. It is brutal. Yesterday, we got lucky with some overcast, and we're able to get, it didn't feel like a hot New Orleans day, but today, complete opposite. Sun was out. Everybody got a lot of sun. I know I got a ton of sun. I mean, look at this. Look at my wrist. I mean, that just kind of shows you. And I tan really easily. Sun and I are really good friends, but, it was hot today, and the sun was out, and it'll be out again tomorrow. We're expecting fans, obviously. Saturday's expecting fans. It's supposed to be sunny and hot for the next several weeks, at least for the next week or two. But, things will change on a dime in New Orleans. But as far as practice goes, look, when we talk about it, and grab my notebook because there's some things that probably don't want to leave out. And, of course, if you haven't checked out my recap, full notes, observations, practice detailed notes, my goal is to make sure that you feel like you were there at practice, so you can read up on my stuff. I put it up against anybody's. It has a lot of detailed information on it. It's got all you need to know that the happenings for training camp. Go to saints.media, si.com/NFL/Saints. Some of the things that I want to touch on, some of the things that I'll start here. Joe Woods, the new defensive coordinator, He's been around the game a good bit. Obviously, that's one of the big things. The Saints, they lost Chris Richard, basically parted ways with each other, right? And so Joe Woods is a guy who has tons of secondary experience. So you have him, you have, Marcus Robertson, who they brought in as well, and you have Dennis Allen, who has a secondary background too. And when you look at how things have progressed with, just this whole thing with the Saints secondary and just the emphasis, and if you remember the days back in 2014, all those days before they got kind of Aaron Glenn, how bad the secondary was. Joe Woods is a very authoritative voice when it comes to how he is and hands-on approach. He's very, very good teacher of the game from what I can see. He's very active with that secondary. He's in it. He's in the thick of it. He's doing a lot of things. I mean, even saw him running some gassers yesterday, and Dennis Allen ran gassers again today. He was challenged by Marshawn Lattimore, but today he ended up running them again. So we'll see if this continues, if the Saints continue to do gassers, of course. But I think that's one of the first things that I would take away is that Joe Woods, you don't look so much as the coaching. When everything looks good, you don't really attribute it to coaching. When things look bad, you start looking at coaching and saying, are these guys really the right fit? What can they do better? All those types of things. So I was really impressed with seeing that. And I've seen that in OTAs and minicamp right from the start, rookie minicamp, all those things. I really think Joe Woods is going to bring a very positive impact to this defense. And, I think it's going to be one of those that still continues to be a top unit. Let's talk about another thing. One of the things Dennis Allen talked about after practice. So there's 2 straight days we've seen turnovers from the defense. And so we say turnovers. Dennis Allen, I like what he said. He talked about takeaways, right? Because the offense isn't going to give you the football. We have to take the football away. And the Saints were not good at takeaways last year, but already through training camp, they've gotten some really good plays out of their defenders. You can look at it one of two ways. They're taking the football away, or the offense is giving it away. I guess you could say the offense, in one breath, it's like, yes, they are taking the football away, but the offense, you got to hold on to that football. You got to hold on to that rock, all that good stuff. But today, Andrew Dow forces another fumble. This time, it's on a play with Kendre Miller catching a pass over the Kendre Miller catching a pass over the middle, and Dow strips it out of him. He recovers a fumble. Miller had to run a lap because of it. All those fun types of things. And then later, to close out team drills, Jake Haener gets stripped. It was a combination of Jack Heflin and Smoke Monday forcing a fumble. I mean, Haener was ready to throw the football, and it was right there. It's almost like a dangerous play. It's like the ones that, if you really hold on to it and do something, you could have messed up somebody's arm by doing that. But luckily, that wasn't the case. But good to see the turnovers. It's good to see things like that. Derek Carr had another pretty decent day. I mean, there was a couple of moments I thought Jimmy Graham stood out a little bit more. Foster Moreau, Graham, and Carr, they had one hookup where they just were right off. It was just a little overthrown for Jimmy Graham. Carr's balls, it was a little, some underthrown, some were just not pinpoint accuracy like you would expect. Again, it's camp. I don't think there was too much to worry about that. Again, those things will come. He almost had a big hookup to Michael Thomas on the sideline. He had a good route, beat Marshawn Lattimore in coverage, has the catch, goes to the ground, and it comes out. So those things are unfortunate. They tried the deep ball a little bit. Alontae Taylor looked pretty good in coverage too. They tried it with Rashid Shaheed. They tried it with Chris Olave. Tried a couple different looks. But overall, the offense, look, it's a chess piece. And look, Drew Brees was always here. He's adamant. One of the things that he always talked about is, I remember one time where Drew Brees actually started swearing on the field because of how the defense was getting under his skin. And so that's kind of what you want, because most of the drills, sometimes when you look at OTAs, minicamp, they are catered to the offense because there's no contact. And right now there's not a lot of contact because they don't have the pads on. So like Dennis Allen saying, running around like kind of with underwear and helmets. But, again, it'll pick up, it'll ramp up. That's where I'm really excited to see more of them, to pass rush, blocking, all those things. But encouraging signs, we kind of loosely talked about Payton Turner today, rolling in with the first team. He made a couple of impact plays, run stop, pressures. First day, had some pressures, same thing. This is a guy that hopefully can put it all together. And Dennis Allen saying after practice, he's earned the right to have those those reps. And obviously, they're looking for that guy to start opposite of Cam Jordan. And look, Carl Granderson came into his own last year, right? And he ended up taking snaps and reps from Marcus Davenport. So this one, we do expect it to be Carl Granderson as of right now. But, Granderson even saying after practice, there's things he wants to clean up in his run defense, other things and such. So it's going to be really interesting. But it's so refreshing just to see Payton Turner put some things together. And again, they're talking about the only thing that they were worried about is seeing some development, not necessarily the end result. So good things from Payton Turner first couple of days. That's a great sign if you're a Saints fan. I also saw some stuff from Isaiah Foskey today, had some really good pressures out there. One of the guys that I think is rising up, I just kind of noticed them, the D-line interior. Look, we expect it to be Nathan Shepard, Colin Saunders, Malcolm Roach, and Ryan Brisset if it starts. But Jack Heflin is a guy that I feel like has been catching my eye a little bit more and more. Like, I really want to see more from him. I don't say he's a sleeper. He's somebody that's going to make the team. But interesting that it was some of the plays that he has made, he's been involved in that, you just can't really overlook. Also, we talked about kicking battle. Lou Hedley, Blake Grupe up in kicking today. Grupe was perfect on his 6 field goal attempts. got a perfect angle from him. I know some people were like, there's no way you saw that, right? And I was like, because I was literally writing down as it was going in. It's just how my brain works and stuff. But, perfect on the day, 6 for 6, kind of carrying over from OTAs and minicamp. So real good kicker battle. Headley, some of his punts were pretty good. He was doing well when it came to downing punts inside the 10. He hit some real perfect punts that pinned it inside the 9-yard line, the 7-yard line that went out of bounds. But, you could see when you had Blake Gillikin, this is the best way I can, I guess, explain that. With Blake Gillikin, when he booted the football, you had all these receivers. What you knew is Blake had a cannon on him. And the receivers, wherever they were at and to field a punt, they're having to back up a few yards or several yards in some cases to field the punt. Headley's punts, you had to kind of come up a little bit on them. Some of them were, you just didn't have to backpedal for them. They were just kind of hit right. But he does kick a pretty ball. And so I'm interested to see more from that. Again, that's one of the many training camp battles that we're looking forward to. But Saints camp, day 2, main things are Trevor Penning, update on him, and just know he's day-to-day. Some of the players dealing with heat exhaustion, all those takeaways are starting to be there. Andrew Dowell is a guy who stood out really a lot in the first couple of days, and he has an opportunity because of the linebacker room and such. But, look, I think when it boils down to it, it'll be fun to see how everything gets put together because there are just so many things that this team needs, right? And so I just really am interested to see if he's somebody that could fill the Caden Ellis role. It's been Zach Bond. DeMarco Jackson has some time to go. He's smart. He's instinctive. But on one of the plays, he slipped on his coverage, which led to a big catch. Speaking of big catches, Foster Moreau made a really big catch today that we saw, that he got a nice little dab from Derek Carr afterwards. It wasn't Carr who threw it to him. It was actually Jameis Winston. So a deep pass that was working against Ryan Connolly, who made a big play on him earlier, or big play on Ellis Merriweather on a swing pass for a tackle for loss. But look, I've got all the detailed notes, all the information you need from training camp in a detailed format on Saints News Network. If you haven't checked it out, go to saints.media, read up on it. You will need to know everything about every player that you're asking about for Saints training camp. So keep it tuned here. We'll continue our daily looks, kind of like overviews, I guess I would say, hitting on the high points. But all the details you need to know, Saints News Network. Follow us at Saints News. Follow me on Twitter at John J. Hendricks. I'm all on Threads and all the fun stuff, except for Blue Sky. I'm waiting for my invite and referral code, whatever the heck they need for that. But, I guess we're on the X mode, whatever you want to call it. It's crazy. But, again, thank you to Justin Burgess at BenPro for sponsoring today's show. You see the information scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If you own a business in the greater New Orleans area and you need employee benefit services or anything else, give this man a call. He will get you hooked up and tell him that John Hendricks sent you. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.